Hi, welcome back. This is your favorite faceless masked commentator. I cover news and give opinions on issues. If you find my commentary interesting, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and leave a comment. Today, we're diving into the escalating situation with Iran as the Middle East conflict hits its fifth week. President Trump is floating some bold ideas about seizing Iran's key oil export hub on Karg Island, while also hinting that a deal to end the fighting could come together pretty quickly. At the same time, the Pentagon is gearing up for possible ground operations, even as experts warn about the serious risks involved. It's a high-stakes mix of military pressure, ceasefire talks, and worries over global oil supplies. So here's what's been unfolding. The war kicked off with U.S. and Israeli aerial strikes back on February 28th, and now, a month later, Iran has shut down the Strait of Hormuz in response. That strait handles about a fifth of the world's oil supplies, and the closure has sent prices skyrocketing while sparking fears of a broader energy crisis. Iran has also been hitting energy facilities in places like Kuwait, keeping the pressure on Gulf Arab nations. In the middle of all this, Trump sat down for an interview with the Financial Times where he laid out the statement, "Maybe we take Karg Island, maybe we don't. We have a lot of options." Karg Island is huge for Iran. It handles 90% of their oil shipments. Trump made it clear that grabbing it could mean U.S. troops would have to stay there for a while, but he also added that a deal with Tehran to end the war could be made fairly quickly. He put it like this: "I would only say that we're doing extremely well in that negotiation, but you never know with Iran because we negotiate with them and then we always have to blow them up." Currently on the negotiation side, things are moving, though slowly. The focus still leans towards the strait. Iran has put forward its own 5-point proposal that includes keeping control over the strategic waterway. The U.S. has a 15-point plan focused on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Exact details of each point aren't too solid yet. Preliminary ceasefire talks are showing some tentative progress, and Pakistan stepped in on Sunday to offer to facilitate discussions between the two sides, though it's not clear yet if it'll be direct talks or through intermediaries. As a goodwill gesture, Iran agreed to let 20 oil-carrying vessels pass through the strait starting Monday morning and continuing over several days. Trump called this a gift, letting him know that he's dealing with the right people. People, as in people that can give orders and enforce those orders. Meanwhile, the military side is heating up in a different way. The Pentagon has been preparing for weeks of ground operations in Iran. Any potential action wouldn't be a full-scale invasion like the one in Iraq back in 2003, but more like targeted raids using special operations forces mixed with conventional infantry. The goals could include seizing Karg Island to secure that oil hub, or hunting down weapon systems that Iran might use to threaten shipping in the strait. Thousands of U.S. sailors and Marines have already deployed to the Middle East over the weekend, according to U.S. Central Command. Just yesterday, the USS Tripoli arrived in the area carrying about 3,000 Marines. War studies experts point out that for any sustained ground presence, you'd need full intelligence on air support, logistics, and evacuation plans, plus clearing out threats ahead of time. That probably means a heavy air campaign would come first. Right now, there aren't enough Army soldiers on hand with the right equipment for weeks-long ops, but several thousand more are reportedly on the way. Though Israel is working with us, it seems to me that they're more focused on inner lands of the region, while the U.S. has shifted primary focus to the Strait and Gulf. Foreign Minister Marco Rubio said on Friday that ground troops aren't necessary, but he didn't completely rule them out. Still, analysts like Michael Eisenstadt from the Washington Institute for Near East Policy are sounding alarms. He said taking Karg Island would be highly risky because it's a small place where Iranian forces could rain down drones and maybe even artillery. Retired General Joseph Votel, who used to head U.S. Central Command, echoed that, warning that troops there could end up very, very vulnerable to drones and missiles launched from the mainland. Professor Lawrence Friedman from King's College London took it even further. He argued that Trump's victory options are narrowing and that the president might be running out of ways to claim real success. The Iranian regime hasn't crumbled despite the damage to its nuclear and military capabilities. Friedman pointed out that Trump sometimes seems to be in an alternative reality with contradictory and even delusional-sounding statements. He suggested the only real move left might be to declare victory and walk away. But even that leaves a mess in the Gulf with no guarantee Iran reopens the strait. Success in war, he said, isn't just about the damage inflicted. It's about whether political objectives like regime change or a compliant new leader actually happen. Iran isn't backing down quietly. Their parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf, rejected the Pakistan-mediated talks as just an excuse for more U.S. troops to move in. He said Iranian forces are waiting for the arrival of American troops on the ground to set them on fire and punish their regional partners forever. And if their territory gets invaded, Iran has warned it would deploy mines all across the Persian Gulf. Adding another layer, the Houthis in Yemen launched a ballistic missile at Israel over the weekend, marking their entry into the conflict to support Iran. The missile got intercepted, but it shows the fighting is spreading. Experts worry the Houthis could do even more damage by targeting shipping in the Red Sea or hitting Saudi infrastructure, which would crank up the global economic pain even higher since the Strait of Hormuz is already closed. On the Iranian side, they've been keeping up their campaign against Gulf targets, and there's talk that behind all the public moves, special units from the US or Israel might already be operating inside Iran. Though that's still speculation. One professor noted that if a ground operation had launched right at the start with surprise, it might have worked better. But now Iran has had time to prepare, which could mean higher casualties on all sides. I understand this possibility, but there's clear signs that the IRGC is fractured at every possible level. US and Israel still have air superiority through intelligence and surveillance to aid ground troops. I know I sound cocky, but with all the data points out, I highly doubt Iran can inflict any serious, long-lasting pressure on the US. They just don't have the leverage or capability for that. Still, the risks are real for everyone involved. A big ground push could lead to serious American casualties and even more instability across the Middle East. Some see the threat of boots on the ground as more of a pressure tool to force Iran toward a deal rather than something they actually want to follow through on. Others point out that the current air-focused strategy has kept risks low so far. No major losses for US or Israeli forces and a lot of Iranian air defenses taken out. But it hasn't delivered the bigger goals like fully dismantling the nuclear program or forcing a leadership change. Technically, that's true, but it most certainly shouldn't be framed as no progress at all like Iran implies with their AI fakes. Wrapping up the situation, the world is watching closely because the economic fallout is already hitting hard with energy prices climbing and supply worries mounting. Ceasefire efforts through Pakistan and the back-and-forth proposals show both sides might be looking for an off-ramp, but the military posturing continues with Marines heading in and options like Karg Island still on the table. As for my deeper thoughts, I share sentiments with the channel, Business Basics. Everyone's looking at the fact that Trump is sending ground forces without understanding what these forces might actually be. Remember that one of Donald Trump's objectives is ensuring that Iran has no nuclear weapons. That doesn't mean blow them up and leave the already enriched uranium in the nation. He wants it destroyed or sieged. The typical ground solider doesn't know how to properly handle uranium. Thus, the idea of specialized agents handling, dismantling, and transporting the material, plus many more specialities my tiny brain can't comprehend. We can't exactly destroy this pre-bomb material, nor can we assure that the future Iran won't attempt to restart it. Still, the uranium is in another facility far off Karg Island, which is seemingly the focus for these articles. Since we're currently in talks with Iran, it's entirely possibly that we're simply trying to hold Karg Island hostage for a proper deal to get to the uranium. As far as the Strait, the Middle Eastern and Americans' allies will likely land on some sort of joint ownership deal that allows the Strait to stay open without much Iran interference. I'm not too worried about the future of the Strait as long as Iran doesn't full own it. Karg can also be a means to that end as well. My point here goes right back to Marco Rubio. It's all about the options. All Donald Trump did was move one out of many pieces into place to keep his options vast and flexible against Iran in negotiations. Everyone knows at this point what Trump is asking for. The sooner Iran gives it up, the better for everyone. If America de-escalates now by pulling out without ensuring de-escalation from the next Iranian leaders, it'll lead to worse problems. Case in point, we've got sleeper cells in the States with shaky DHS funding. I don't want boots on the ground. Nobody does. But at this point, Iran is on its last leg with little to no military backing, domestic or foreign. There wouldn't be too much casualties if we went in now. Plus, I'm a big fan of taking away any and all uranium before pulling out. The oil just seems like the means to that end. We hold the oil, we trade it for Iran's uranium. Deal's done. In short, just finish the damn job while we're still militarily superior. Everyone gets back in time for summer bikinis and margaritas. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more straight talk on stories like this, make sure to hit subscribe, drop a like on the video, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.